Hello and welcome back to our Opus 22 Hidden Hope set review, and here we have Wind and Earth, and we're starting it off with Alexander, the summon for this element, which allows you to draw one card of display with backups, and it says choose one forward you control and one forward your opponent controls. During this turn, the next damage dealt to the former is dealt to the latter instead. That's pretty crazy. Is there a place for this in Wind though?
Reads like an Earth card, I don't know.
It's like a broken record.
This would have been so cool in Earth, but yeah, it's weird because Wind doesn't really care about combat tricks at all, because it just storms off and does everything it wants to on its own turn, and then you kind of got enough board advantage in one turn anyway. That I think if you're in a position where you want to play this card, you're probably far behind anyway in Wind.
I do wonder if this is the sort of if this is the sign of things to come for Wind, if they're going to be dropping Storm a little bit just because they know that it's pushed a bit too far. But you know, if that is the case, then I think that is something to be quite excited about, really. But otherwise, yeah I'm not sure it's got a massive place.
At the moment, though, it feels a little too little to kind of like push away from Storm. So we probably won't see play for a while, just because of that.
Nothing more to add on this one? Then we'll move on to Wall. Warrior of Light backup. He's not a Warrior of Dawn or whatever it was from before. So 4 CP, and when Wall enters the field, you can choose one of the two actions. Choose one forward, of course, 6 or more, break it, or reveal the top 5 cards of your deck and add 1 Wind card for them. So sort of similar to Madam M, but without the EX burst and the choice to break a 6 CP or more. I don't know if there's room for this. It's definitely not a Wind deck, but potentially in a Warrior of Light deck.
Yeah, you tell me what card you're taking out to put this dude in, and tell me that it's going to be worth it. I don't know.
What's it going to hit in a Warrior of Light deck? You don't have enough Wind in there to make it reliable.
Or Warrior of Light himself, the multi-color Warrior of Light.
Yeah, but to guarantee you hit something, I don't think you have anywhere near enough Wind in that deck.
No, I agree. I think Paul's right. I think if you're looking at this card, I think you're looking at it more as a Warrior of Light rather than as a Wind card, because these effects already exist in Wind in better regards. Like, we'll get onto the Wind Legend that does the first effect better. It targets a better range and removes from game. And the bottom bit is just like Jacobo essentially does the same thing. Fine, this can grab summons and Jacobo can't grab summons, but yeah, I don't know, man. I'm not sold.
It's super good for just like Wind or something else. Things like you say, it does get card, not character, not forward. So it is quite versatile. But yeah, if Madam M didn't see play, I don't think this is going to really see it either. Next up is Epiornis, which is a bird. Epiornis becomes a forward of 5,000 power and cannot be blocked by a forward of cost 4 or more. And damage 3 cannot be blocked by anything. Nah.
I think this is the better of these monsters, but it's not exactly setting the bar particularly high.
Better than this.
I also never read that saying 3 or less. I thought it said 3 or more.
Start skipping these monsters. I'm not gonna lie. I don't think any of them are really going to see any play. So
no.
Yeah.
But one thing I really want to try is Enkidu. Interestingly, Job Warrior. So when he enters the field, choose up to 3 backups and activate them. Which, if he's played for free off of Tyvis, off of the Tyvis when you played him and searched him, is absolutely incredible.
I mean, I know nothing about Enkidu, or I never played 5, but why is this a warrior?
I don't know. I don't really know.
It's probably from the real mythological Enkidu.
Maybe.
Always one.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, Gilgamesh and Enkidu were best buds, weren't they?
So yeah, of course, if you play a Gilgamesh, you can pay 2 to play this from your break zone as well, which is, you know, as well, if that's off of backups, that means that you gain a backup and everything. So.
Yeah, that is mad value. That is actually mad value, paying 2 CP to get 3 react backups back and get this 3 CP 7k body. Yeah, that's
What Gilgamesh are you playing with this? I know there's a new one which we're going to get to, but
the cool thing is you can play this in, say you're playing a Mono Earth deck, you could splash this in as like a 1 copy or 2 copies. That if you're playing the Gilgamesh anyway, you don't need to pay 2 win CP to get this play from Break Zone effect. You can pay any CP.
Yeah, there's no shortage of like decent Gilgameshes as well.
With Tyvus playing it as well, I quite like the Opus 18 Gilgamesh, where you remove elements from your break zone to break something.
Oh, that's horrible, especially in a multi-element deck like that. So, yeah, pretty. I like this. I will be after the full arts. I think it's. I'll be playing this even in my like Rebels deck because just extra things to.
Definitely.
Then we have Kane, which is a 3CP 6k haste first strike Dragoon that when he attacks you can activate 2 characters. It's okay. Kane isn't massively contested as a name. They keep going on printing more of these Wind Dragoons, but it's not quite there for any reason to play Wind just yet for Dragoons. But it's.
I think this art goes way too hard for a common. Like the effect is pretty meh, but like this, they didn't need to put so much effort on this art for a game that is pretty meh. Like they definitely could have reserved that for like a legend or something.
I think it's worth testing out though. Like Wind doesn't want this card because it can do better than attack. It doesn't want to activate characters in the in the combat step at all. But
Thomas is activating all of your backups, not just 2 characters.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe there's a deck for this somewhere down the line, but I don't see it yet.
Agreed.
Next up we have Ranger, which deals 5k to a 2 CP or less, or breaks a monster for. Right. Anyway.
Yeah. Bad.
Moving on.
We have Clavat. Anyway, yeah. Next.
Yeah. Next.
Sid FFBE, which has the font down on small so it can fit down what it does. So, at the beginning of the attack phase, during each of your turns, select one of the 2 following actions. Either choose 2 characters and activate them. All forwards you control gain this forward cannot be chosen by your opponent's summons until the end of the turn. Or when... No, sorry. So it was one of those 2. Right, yeah, sorry, it's written really weird. And when he is put from the field into the break zone, you may pay 3, and when you do so, you can play him back to the field dull. That's a lot of text. It's like you say, it's probably better than the Kane for being able to activate 2 characters. But,
still feels kind of meh for having all that text, though, right?
The art and the text make it sound like it should be a legend, which it's not. What I actually thought when I saw this card is it actually looks like a mill card, like that being able to block and then get it back onto the field dull, like that being able to like recur forward type thing is like the old like mill decks of old used to use Calbrainer for things like that. I think if Riku ever did exist again, which it won't, then this would see play. But if there's going to be like a wind-based mill deck, I actually could see this fitting in there.
I think the issue is that you've effectively like paid 4 in the turn to play it. It's blocked in your opponent's next turn, for example, and then you've then got to pay the 3 as well. It's like
if you get 2 characters back. So if you play them in main phase 1, we actually
I suppose.
I don't think it's very good. I think that's it. But just looking at this card, I feel like that's the only place I can see it seeing any play because I don't think it sees play anywhere else.
I think it needed to say during the attack phase on each turn, not each of your turns, and then it would be good. But being limited to your turn only, I don't know.
Great card with no deck.
Sure.
Yeah.
We have Sosha next, which is a 4CP 8k Dragoon again, which becomes 2 cheaper if you control a Dragoon. I don't see it personally.
I think this is in the vein of the Kane previously. It's not quite there yet, and there's not much really to say about it at the moment.
Just waiting for more Wind Dragoon support.
I would say that is 10 out of 10 for thighs. Next up we have Chelinka, which is hard to talk about if we're not doing Limit Break till the end. So really, we'll come back to that later because one of the Yuri that she's trying to support is a limit break card. So
when I saw this card, I was convinced we were going to get a legend wind Yuri, and then we didn't. And then I just we'll talk about it later with the Yuri, but I don't think this card's very good.
Well, neither do I, but I don't think Yuri's very good either. But that's neither here nor there. Dorgan. Wow, everybody seems to be massively split on this card. So, as a Dawn Warrior with an absolutely incredible moustache,
Absolutely looks maxing here.
You can select one of the
jawline.
3. What's that? Sorry.
So look at his jawline.
Oh, you would.
Looks maxing as all hell.
When you enter the field, you can choose one of the 3 following actions, and if you cast 3 or more cards this turn, select 2 of the 3 following actions instead. Choose one forward of cost 5 or more, remove it from the game. Lovely. Choose one monster, remove it from the game. Excellent. And choose 2 cards from either player's break zone, remove them from the game, and draw 1 card. Yeah, all of those lines of text are very, very good and deserving of a legend. I'm just not sure that it is on a wind card. I don't think that they want to spend 4 CP on this.
Again, though, this might go back to the whole them trying to get away from Storm.
Well, it is a Storm card.
I know, that's what's weird about it. But I suppose you still get one of the effects regardless. But I don't know, it's just.
But it's like, do you want to spend 4 CP on this to maybe break a 5 or more, which they might not even have a 5 or more, maybe remove a monster. They might not even play monsters, or maybe get the remove from game is definitely the most relevant because you also get the draw effect. Or would you rather just spend 1 CP on a Luso to do an 8k board wipe, which can kill everything because you have Lulu as well, reducing everything to 5k, and you get to draw a card off of it. It's just this card does everything Luso kind of wants to do, but worse. Apart from
I actually really agree there.
This solves a few problem matchups for Wind, though, in that it gives them a really good answer to if they're playing against an ice player who goes aggressive with the Griever or something like that, or even just dealing with a Skeleton. Now I know Wind has the Alexander, but that kind of dropped off in play. But even in the mirror matchup, you can be removing Atomoses from the game.
I was going to say actually that in the mirror, this is really what works, but. I think I'd still feel a little bit better about it if it was a 3/7 rather than a 4/8.
I think if the 370 would be busted, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of sighed a bit when I saw this card. It was like, I think it's really good, and I don't like that Wind got it. But I think of all the places for it to go, I think it's probably almost maybe least impactful on Wind because Wind has access to a lot of these specs. Kind of.
I think it sounds like an Earth card.
I feel like you found the title to your videos, by the way.
Next up, we have Nanamigo.
Earth set review.
I think this Nanamigo can just piss right off.
Job robber, not thief, robber.
Yeah.
And she
Cockney geezer, innit?
On entry, she can choose one forward of cost 2 or less in your opponent's break zone and play it onto the field. It's nice to get your opponent's Zidane. Or choose one summon of cost 3 or less in your opponent's break zone and cast it as if you owned it without paying the cost. And if you cast it, remove it from the game instead of putting it back into the break zone. Yeah, it's pretty good. It's a 4 CP 5k, so again, the cost is a little bit high for what Wind really wants to do. But, getting 2 forwards off of it is not too bad. I think it's pretty good.
I think this genuinely helps in a Storm mirror match as well, though. Like, you steal the Sedan and all hell breaks loose.
I think the thing is with it, though, is that, how many do you play? Because it's there are going to be matchup with this where this card does absolutely nothing, right? No 2-drops, no summons to play. It reads like that, a Zidane, if a Zidane was balanced in any way, shape, or form. I think this card is incredibly fair, so we'll probably never see play.
Yeah, it's dead early game. This is an absolute dead card early game.
I completely agree that it would be dead early game, but I disagree that it won't see any targets.
I do actually think it's probably better in an Earth Wind list than a regular Wind.
It reads like it's almost like you want, like it wants Wind to be mill again, because if you mill your opponent, then obviously you're going to have more choices with this card. And obviously the old Nanamigo, which nobody probably ever remembers apart from me, also does mill your opponent. So it reads like it wants to be in a mill deck, but again, mill decks haven't existed since the Storm deck, but that doesn't really count as a mill deck because it was a 1-turn kill.
Yeah.
So I guess since the Riku got banned, mill's been incredibly irrelevant.
I'm shocked compared it to the Zidanes that it's not on attack as well. It's only on entry.
Yeah.
Well, there's only so much shit they can shovel with a silver spoon to window, mate.
It just seems weird that it's only once on the entry.
If it was more than once, I would be calling for its ban already.
It seems worse than any Zidane you could be playing in this meta.
And don't forget, it's not even technically once either, because it's in Wind, so there's Chocobo and the other stuff that returns it to hand, so...
Yeah, but I still think it's worse than the Zidane that sees play.
Yeah, but it's going to play that Zidane for you, and then mess up your opponent instead.
Yeah, you have to be taking the forward from your opponent's break zone. You can't play it from your own break zone.
Also, why don't you play your own Zidane as well?
Why not do both?
I think it's what's limiting a bit for this card is that it specifies your opponent's break zone, not from any break zone.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's we'll have to see on this one. Again, it's quite divisive, but I'm not sure that Bart's is quite as divisive. I think this is bad.
Pointless.
2 CP5K and remove 3 Job Warrior of Light from the break zone from the game, and he gains Bart's cannot be chosen by your opponent's abilities until the end of the turn. And for S and X, you can search for 1 Job Warrior of Light of cost X and play it onto the field, and you can only use this during your turn. Which is great if you want to get like Warrior of Light or something like that from your deck, but you have to have a copy of Bart's in hand to have done it. So
yeah, so you're already paying 2 CP. You basically, what you're saying is this copy of Bart's in my hand is actually this copy of this card in my deck, right?
Yeah, but it has to. My 4 CP now costs 8 because I had to play the card. I had to get another one, and I had to pay 4. Maybe somebody comes up with something super broken for this. I suppose it does play backups, but
at no point though, as well, like, does the first chunk of text seem entirely relevant? Why would you want to remove your Warriors of Light in a Warrior of Light deck? And also, why the hell would you want to protect this 2 CP5K?
Why does it only protect him? Yeah.
Yeah, if it was everybody.
Or the very least, they say Bards cannot be chosen by abilities, summons, and can't be something a little bit more than that. But just abilities for a card that doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
Outside of S effecting, but you're removing the cards you're using for the S effect from the game anyway. So it's not like even if you did recur them back to hand, you couldn't keep on going with the S effect. So it's just whole card seems very backwards.
And the more Barts you play to make the S works means that you've got less room for targets. So, yeah, no, I don't think so on this one. We have Geomancer, though, who cannot be chosen by your opponent's abilities at all. And when it enters the field, you choose up to 3 backups you control. If 2 or more of them are standard units, activate them.
I think it's a solid.
In limited, it's absolutely solid.
Cost too much, in my opinion.
It kind of reminds me of, is it Archer or something from one of those really early sets where we were drafting recently, where it's just like, it can't be chosen by abilities. Great.
Ranger.
That's the one.
Yeah, similar to Ranger. Not too much else to say though, other than I like the balls on the feet.
What do you do, mate?
Next up we have Hope. Who is really, really good, but sort of in the wrong element for now. 2 CP 5K, and you can reveal the top 4 cards of your deck to add 1 Category 13 card among them to your hand and return them to the bottom. And with an S and S ability that says S and 1 Wind, choose 1 forward of power 9,000 or more and break it. If there's ever more Wind FF13, this will absolutely see play. But at the moment, no.
I was going to say, what does it hit at the moment? His parents and the monsters.
That's a good thing to actually bear in mind, though. Yeah, he can be searched with Nora and played with Bartholomew. So, but
Yeah, you compare this card to the Hope was already in Lightning. This is not gonna, as long as that
There's no
13 deck and the light lightning is at all relevant, which it's going to be for another while, I reckon, because that deck is just so strong. This card isn't going to see a lot of play.
yeah, but again, even if it's
the
10
ceiling
sets
is
down the
high.
line, this will absolutely, it will get there eventually, I believe.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Yeah, sure.
What have we got next? We have Helena Leonis, which is super interesting. And I nearly absolutely crapped myself when I read this first time round. As it says,
You and me had a conversation about this,
yeah,
didn't we?
yeah, we were just like, what the hell? Reveal the top 2 cards of your deck and remove one card among them from the game and put the other to the bottom of your deck. You can cast it at any time you normally cast it this turn. The cost required to cast it is reduced by 2, and you can only use this ability once per turn. We thought, that's insane! How can it do that? Oh, it costs a crystal. Never mind, it will never work.
Literally, yeah, my exact words were, thank God Wind is the worst crystal generation in any element, because otherwise this card would be absolute bananas.
Well, the moment that it does, though, like, you know, that's there may be a deck for this, it's just not there yet, but yeah.
This Wind never really ran anything crystal.
Not really, because it hasn't had to.
I mean, it's quite well balanced in that it's a clearly strong effect. It's an effect you're going to have to work quite hard for in Wind itself. So I think it's balanced in that regard. There's just the risk that one day that balance might get disrupted.
Well, that's the
I
thing.
think
If it does become a less storm and more like it used to, more like a ramp deck, this is just crazy.
The thing is, it doesn't, like, Wind can never really fit into an FFBE kind of like Glaciella list either, which does utilize all the crystals, because especially with all these new cards, none of them have the S effects, probably for the reason of Glaciella.
Because the whole point of Glaciella is you're using crystals for her, but this card wants to be using the crystals, so I don't think this and Glaciella will never exist in the same deck.
See, I disagree. You get so many crystals playing that deck that you could easily pay 1, recoup the cost in no time flat. You just, I mean, there's so many ways of getting them just by playing any of the FFBE guys.
It's definitely worth experimenting with, regardless.
I mean, I suppose you could use, is it Sid FFBE, which has got a semi-decent S effect as an FFBE character, but in Wind anyway.
I guess Vargas is the best one, isn't it? The one that like puts poison counters on. I guess that's probably your best FFBE with S effect.
I don't know. I think Sid is better because you're dealing something 10k and your opponent a point of damage, which is silly for an S effect.
I think it's worth just playing with, regardless. Might be something to it.
Yeah, I might take a look because it could be interesting.
Next up we have Lilizette, which is the unfortunate name for the Dancer deck. But 3CP EX backup that when she enters the field, you deal 1,000 damage for each character you control. I think this is probably... it's a shame because I like Dancers. And I really like the Lightning Lilizette, which is unfortunately a Lightning card. In Dancers, I think this could see play.
Yeah, but what Dancer deck have you seen recently?
Well, true, but
they say gonna bring it back. I wish it did. I think Dancer is a great archetype that could really do with a bit more love. But
it was always kind of Jenny's pet deck, right?
She definitely tried to make it work. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, outside of Dancers, you're not replacing any card in Mono Windstorm, Wind Earth, Wind Ice. You're not replacing any cards for this.
Yeah.
In Dancers, it could be great, but the Lightning Lilizette again is just it's the only thing that makes that deck worth playing in the first place.
I think this is a little bit limited by being a backup in that it counts the characters and only does 1,000 per character. So it kind of makes you want to have 5 backups already and a bunch of other forwards that you've paid using your 5 backups to really be killing something.
Yeah.
So the fact that it is a backup kind of makes that a little bit clunky.
EX Burst makes it alright though, I guess.
But at least it says character and not Wind character, which makes it a little bit more playable, I suppose. But I think that's the only thing it's got going for it.
I think potentially is another L3 rotation card or something like that, which just means that it's going to fall a little bit short.
Mhm.
But last of the wind cards we have now is Redis, missing from the Sky Pirate deck from last set, but he is a 5 CP 9k, which is reduced by 1 for every job Sky Pirate you control. And then when he's on the field, job Sky Pirate other than Redis controls cannot be chosen by opponent's summons.
Can become 0 is probably the best part of that.
It can, but how many Sky Pirates can you get on the board? I don't think he's going to cost 0. I think he's going to cost 2, maybe
Let's count
1.
backups as well. So
Oh,
like
true.
where you've got your Philo or Thomas, I suppose. But this is the only Sky Pirate card we got this set, isn't it? And Sky Pirates was already like a tier 2 deck. I don't think this is going to be enough. I think it's. I love
contested name, right? Like there's no red ass that really exists right now. There's one from Opus 2, but like this is not really a contested name, which is the one thing going for it, and it's offering you protection for Fran, which remains the party piece for Sky Pirates. But is it enough? It's nice, don't get me wrong, for that deck, but I don't think that's going to be pushing
How many do you run?
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe 2.
Fran not being able to free play it as well, I think, hurts it. Even with the reduction.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would have been better if it was like a 4 CP 8k.
I think what Redis needed was to do something like draw a card or something like Van does and be a hero and not a rare. But I don't know. Maybe people play. Maybe it turns out that not being targeted by summons is enough. But we'll just have to see, I guess. We'll move on to Earth, and well, I think we've actually spoiled more cards this set than any other. Because we had the Winter Cup spoilers, we had our spoiler, and Jenny and Jacob had theirs. So I think we've done pretty well around on this one. But we've got Vossler, EX Burst, 8k, Job Captain, and when he enters the field, you can search for a king. And when he attacks, the next forward you cast is reduced by 2. Well, we were really excited when we read this originally. There's no king in this set, I don't think. So
there is, but it's a limit break.
Yeah.
Can't believe they didn't print a Ramanas to go with this.
But it does say to cast the next forward, right? So limit break still counts as a cast, right?
yes,
So you can
but
still
it's
reduce
searching
that.
for the king. It's
There's
any
more
cast.
king thing we're talking about, yeah.
Yeah, I suppose like you could search for backups with him, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, there's plenty of targets.
Oh
that are
yeah,
worth
there's
grabbing.
Polkas and
Yeah,
there's
an actual game.
Leo.
Rampare.
I mean, this is just talking about how Red Ass kind of goes in the Fran deck. I think this definitely goes in the Fran deck as well, especially as there's scope in that Fran deck to be multicolour, and people have played with all sorts of variations, but there is a variation that exists that is Earth, Wind, Water. So having this as a thing that could search out a King Tycoon to go into Yelena with a Claris in there as well to like buy into that to kind of fix your colours. Yeah.
Does this make Claris like less viable now?
I don't think so. It's
You
not
still play it. No, I think you still play that as your backup line, but essentially what Vossler gives you is it gives you just extra things that it can search off, it entering. But the main thing is kind of its attacking reduced by 2 effect as well. Because if you're not really paying anything for Fran, I think the fact that searching a Job King doesn't necessarily need to be the game-breaking thing in a Fran deck. I definitely think there's a whole different deck where you can put him in that isn't a Fran deck that has a bunch of Job Kings that you can have.
Well, every Earth deck's running, 2? In there
Even
at
if
the moment?
searching a 1 CP Leo,
Yeah. He's good. He will see play. If you get your full arts, get your foils on this one. It's good. Less good is my boy X Death. Oh.
I really wanted to like this. When I first read it, I was kind of like, I like this card. And then the more we talked about it, I was like, yeah.
It needs to be not called X Death. It needs to not be called not cost 4.
This is a horrible name clash. This needed to be like an ice card, right? Like an ice X Death to have this effect. And then it maybe would have seen play, but it's just got horrible name clash in the elements.
Choose one dull forward. Just not one forward to begin with. Nah. Yeah. It's not for.
It can't even get reduced, can it, by the other backups? Because they only work on lightning.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Do you know, if that was the case, then this wouldn't be that bad. But this is the case. This is the world we live in. So, unfortunately, it's a big nope on that one. So.
Just finally have a card that we think should be an Earth card after Jacob saying all these cards should be an Earth card. It should be an Earth card.
Carbuncle. Choose one character you control, dull it, and until the end of the turn, this character cannot be broken and cannot be chosen by summons or abilities. And if it was paid by backups, draw one card.
Meh.
Like, it would be good if Earth had a payload, sort of like King of the Hill style forward, like it has done previously. But
what, like a counter Vanille?
And I guess maybe it's probably the only place I can see like you want to put like the fan as a linchpin of that Earthwind deck, but I don't think this sees play regardless of that.
Final Fantasy's never been that sort of like counterplay game though. It's very forward in what you do. So I don't know. Maybe someone will make this one work, but I don't see it.
I think
Toto is still relevant, so I could play this card in that deck, but.
I also think a 3 CP is too much.
I think it should cost 2. Yeah.
Yeah. Like even if you took away the draws a card thing off of it, 3 CP for this is too much.
Kato Bashtar. When Kato Bashtar enters the field, choose one forward of cost 4,000 power or less in your break zone and play it onto the field. Its ability or auto ability will not trigger, and you can also put one back up into the break zone. Choose one forward against 2,000 power to the end of the turn.
Absolutely love it.
Yeah, I'm not really sure.
It plays prettier.
Thank God it said the auto ability will not trigger. Can you imagine this with
Realm?
Bloody hell. I mean, I think regardless, I think there's enough cool targets in all the twins and stuff. But
you can also shoot Rampair. So
I've been enjoying seeing the discussion around it of like what targets it has and how feasible they are.
I think that this is going to be a really cool card, but I don't think its day is now.
Again, that 1 CP Leo is a cool target for it as well.
Yeah. One to watch, I think. I'm not sure on this one. I am sure on it. I think the card's really good, but I don't think the targets are entirely there yet.
Especially since other auto abilities don't trigger. That's the biggest drawback to this, I think.
Also,
you can't, though.
Leo and Cindy, I think, were the top 2 I heard that it was going to hit.
Sophie
Twins
is
for me
an
is really
option.
good. Sophie's really good, but yeah, I think Twins. This being able to get Twins back is really nice. Yeah, Sophie's really good actually.
Sophie's actually a really good shout. Yeah.
The problem is that because Sophie's limited to 1, usually it's gone the moment it hits break zone anyway. So you're probably not going to choose her.
But if you do, there's a world in which you can play the Sophie and then sack all your backups and make it big enough to potentially win the game through effect. It could happen, whether it will or not. I think that's the only kind of cool place that I can see these 2 effects linking up. Outside of that, I think they're quite bizarre, these 2 effects. I think they're like... The first one looks like Twins, which is, I think, when you're playing Earth Twins, you've got a very clean backup line that you kind of is quite neat, and once you've got them, you kind of got them set. And then the second effect is more thinking about a Rampair deck, and if you're playing a Rampair deck, you don't really have any targets for the first thing. So I think it's quite... The 2 effects are really disjointed. So if he's the only card, I can see that marries them together, and that's like a limited one-off. So
Is there a world that we live in where someone says, well, because it says its auto ability will not trigger, Sophie's end of turn effect does not trigger?
No, it's play onto the field.
Play onto the field is auto ability will not trigger. As in its auto ability bit entering the field is what it...
Right, okay. Cool.
I know it's not. I know the auto ability won't trigger, but I don't think it's irrelevant. This replaying the 1-drop mirror just to get another turn of an unbreakable zombie to block with.
Yeah.
I don't think that's irrelevant.
No, I agree. Yeah, I think somebody will try and break this, and that'll be, it's likely to have its day, but I don't think it's right now.
I think this card has a very high ceiling. Is the thing.
I could see it as a monthly promo at some point, for definite.
It's got the artwork for it.
Gabranth, 2 CP backup. When Gabranth enters the field, choose one backup in your break zone. If you receive more points of damage than your opponent, add it to your hand. It's not bad, but it's also not great.
Irrelevant name, irrelevant job.
Irrelevant
So-
effect.
Yeah, a little bit. It's
Nice
searchable.
flavorful effect,
Okay.
but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you-
but the
you-
problem
when
is,
you-
is
It's
You play-
searchable
you
off
hold
the
off
bash
playing
as
it.
well.
Yeah, you bash, take the damage, play this. Like, yeah, that it makes sense, but at the same time, it doesn't. Like, would you rather be searching this off of a branch, off of a Barsk, or would you rather be searching a Tyro off of a Barsk anyway?
Yeah.
Like, you know.
meh. It's a common.
It's also you need to see it when when you've taken more damage than your opponent.
Guido. Guido is a 2CP 10k that cannot attack or block, but at the end of each of your turns, you place a knowledge counter on him. If a character you control has been put from the field into the break zone this turn, place 3 knowledge counters on Guido instead.
I think cards like this are changing kind of the way that Earth is playing again, back to the whole let's have fight spells.
Yeah.
Thank God our summon this set was make something unbreakable,
Yeah.
and not when
The
something
fight
takes
spell.
damage, it deals damage back instead on something that's already big. Whatever.
Drawing cards is pretty good. I've no idea what sort of thing this goes in.
It's very much for me. When I saw this card, I'm quite excited about this card. I don't think it's that good, but I want to make a deck that utilizes it because I just think the effect is really cool. Because there's a couple of weird synergies in Earth where it comes to like 2-drops where you got like the Galuf, which will is you flip top 5 and play a 2-drop among them.
Yeah.
We've got there's an old Earth special which plays a 2-drop Earth when it dies, I think it is, or something like that. Then you've got the was it the Waff, the 2 Waff ones, Seraphine and Tama, which also where the Seraphine searches for a 2, I think it searches for a Tama, but then whenever a 2-drop enters, you put a counter on her and then you can remove 2 counters to draw. So you got some kind of engine going there with 2-drops. I don't know if it's going to be any good at all, but I think it sounds kind of interesting, so I'm going to try and put it together and see if anything does come from it.
Maybe you just read this as a monster.
Yeah, I see 2 potential decks for it. Like, not to be the one that mentions monks, but since you can basically control when you sacrificing guys, it gets 3 counters pretty much every turn. But Earth Water, because the idea of threatening a Kukulane on your own Guido is pretty gnarly, I think.
But even then, I actually think this is a pretty reasonable card because it's only 2 CP, right? And so you're probably normally playing this in main phase 2 if a character you've controlled has already been put into the break zone. In which case, he's going to get the 3 knowledge counters, and then you can use them to draw 2 cards. So if you're doing that, he's already replaced himself, the card that you've discarded to play it, and it. So, and then if left unchecked, it has the potential to be a massive draw engine. So you kind of have to answer it. And it hasn't really cost you much to answer it.
Yeah.
The problem is late game though, it's then just bad. So
it doesn't even say, one turn it only puts 1 counter on it, and then the next turn you do get the 3 on it. Like, there's no cap of counters as well, so they do carry over, which is quite nice. If anything, you could say, for example, you could just stack up like 9 counters on him, draw 6 cards, and then I don't know, Sinus effect or something for fun. Like, I'm not.
Do you know?
I'm not saying
maybe
that
there
the
is
way to
something
go,
like you actually might be onto something with that. There might be something like a Sin deck.
And then if at any point someone does threaten to kill it, you're just like, oh well, I'll just draw now instead.
I'll use my carbuncle. Maybe that is a thing. I quite
I'm
like
looking
that.
forward to testing it. I think it could be good.
Because if you can just get 10 cards instantly, so that you can pay for the S effect to win the game, that's really cool. I really like it. I think we should try experimenting with this thing.
Oh, you believe you me?
Can't wait to see this deck now.
Next up we have Gilgamesh. Jacob, you described this as one of the most boring legends you've ever seen that is actually quite good.
Mm-hmm. It's great. It does exactly what you want it to do, but it just inspires absolutely 0 deck building. It's just, you just kind of put it in a deck if you've got space.
Interestingly,
That's about
though, so if you pay the 3 for this, you probably can't pay the 2 to play Enkidu. Oh no, you can, because you'd be able to get the 3 backups back to do the second effect.
You pay 5 CP to play this and the Enkidu, then you have the CP to do the break effect.
Well, that's pretty cool, actually. I think it's all right. It's fine.
I suppose the one saving grace on it is that you get to pay the 3 on entry and on attack.
Yeah, so it's
permanent pressure.
It's similar to like Galuf from a few sets back, but
yeah,
I'm very happy that you can break monsters as well. That's very nice.
Yeah, for a decent sort of price on that as well. Like I like it. I'll definitely be playing him. I'll try him out. But
beautiful for that as well. To be fair.
But like I say, it's not massively inspiring when you go, oh, I'll just take Galuf out and put this in. But,
woo.
Next up is Glaive. So instead, we're going to do Narked, and we'll talk about all of the Warrior of Darknesses in one go. Okay, so this is the other Earth Legend with a lot of small text on it again. So 9 CP, 9k. When Narked enters the field, you may search for up to 3 Job Warrior of Darkness with different names and add them to your hand. At the beginning of the attack phase during each of your turns, you may play 1 Job Warrior of Darkness of cost 5 or less from your hand onto the field. And for S, Earth, and Lightning, you can break a forward. Someone convinced me that this is good.
No.
I mean, there's a lot to unpack. It's ignoring the problem with the fact that as a character, literally no one has any attachments to outside of maybe some Japanese guys because there's a mobile game. So obviously we are getting a load of new Warriors of Darkness which are relevant with this card, and the fact that he costs 9, you could play this guy turn 1, refill your hand back up, get 2 forwards down turn 1. It's not bad in what it wants to do, but I think the S effect specifically is very weird. The fact that it wants to have an Earth and a Lightning backup ready to go, but it also the card says play forwards, right?
No, actually it says Job Warrior of Darkness, so you can play backup.
You are right, but there aren't any.
Yes, there is. There's Diana.
Oh, yeah, it just isn't very good.
I think it searches like a cost 2 or something.
But what, there's not a lot to search from it. Whatever. Well, basically, it's
Here it is.
Are all the new ones?
Oh, forward cost 1.
Forward cost 1. Yes. It's like it just feels so weird, and obviously we're getting a new Diana as well, which does have to go in this deck because it's actually not too bad. But it's the problem I have. There's literally, including Narked, I think there's 4 Warriors of Darkness.
Glaive, Diana.
Diana
Glaive,
and
Diana,
Alba.
and Alba.
Yeah, so you're searching the 3 other ones.
Also, isn't that Dusk on the card art?
It was Sarah, I think.
Is that Sarah or is that Dusk?
I think it was Sarah. Let me put it back. Hang on.
Which is,
Which is a Warrior of Light for a start, regardless.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, Sarah.
Yeah.
Oh, there's Dusk down there. Okay, we were both right.
Yeah, so I mean, like, bottom left is Dusk. But yeah, I think the weird thing about this card, I think this card could be good, but I think it has to come as this whole big package. And the issue that comes with it is obviously you have this window in which you play it, you search all these things. The big one is the Alba, which obviously it comes up later in Lightning, but basically...
No, we'll do it now. We'll do all of them.
Yeah. So you shoot the Alba, because the Alba's the one that then when it gets played off an ability, you choose a forward and break it, which is great if you're then playing it off the knack. But the problem is you have this window, and so if you then search for this knack, play it, yes, you get 3 copies back, but... that's only replacing 6 CP of 9 CP that you've played. And then if the Narc then gets killed before the attack phase, you've then got this Alba in hand, which is a bit dead in hand because you kind of really want to be playing it to be breaking a forward of cost 4 or less. So I definitely think this deck sees play, but I think it's going to be one of those weird, basically one set wonder decks where I think it's probably a great package. It'll probably work this set, but will it still be playable and relevant in Opus 23? Probably not. I think all of these Bioseta packages never seem to last that long. The only ones that tend to do are the ones that have a backup package, like Soiree had.
Yeah.
So I think this deck will be probably good this set. I think there will definitely be people playing it, and it will definitely win a decent amount of games. I don't know deck of the format, and I don't think it will. I don't think it would exist going into Opus 23.
How much do you lose the game on the spot though? That if you pay 9 for Noct and then you just get Amaterasu or Aquatrasu, and you just cry, right?
My main thing with the Nux is that I think the deck is going to be you either win or you lose. Right, I know that sounds really stupid, but like it's either going to be a case of if you get to play the game how you want to play the game with this deck, you will probably most of the time win just from playing your cards. But if one thing goes wrong for you, then
Like
you
an
just
opponent sitting
lose.
opposite you.
Yeah, like say like you're basing your entire deck around this one card, like you kind of got to see it as early as possible as well. And yeah, it's just the complete lack of a backup engine. Like it's even if we ignore like no good Warriors of Darkness search targets that we particularly want to play, like even Earth Lightning is the backup engine is it's got the mannequin stuff, sure. But
And
that's
Reeve.
kind
So it's got summoners and Reeve. So it's the backup.
Sure.
The backups is fine on all this.
But it's quite an expensive sort of backup engine. Like it's good, but it's too. It feels too mid-rangey for a deck that wants to be sort of in the more aggro.
Well, it can be
tempo
aggro
range.
because Alba requires a forward on the opponent's side of the field to even do anything.
But I think it's such a fair point as well that because there's no backup thing for this, and the generic FFL backup searcher is in Ice. It's not even in Earth or Lightning. So you have such a high risk of basically drawing your deck backwards. And if you see your Nax last, then like the whole thing kind of falls apart a little bit. It means you're having to use things like Tyro to like search out and things like that. So
I don't get their refusal to print any Warriors of Darkness that aren't these ones.
So aren't any.
There is.
Diana draws a card, which is pretty good. I didn't know what this one do. And double active Job Warrior of Darkness to choose one forward, dull it, which can only be dulling a forward. So
Really nice artwork, I'll say that much. But yeah, this will probably be the first one. Like, yeah, you go Nucked, and then this would probably be the first one you play straight away. Because then that does set up.
Glaive.
Yeah, Glaive is also good. Yeah.
It gets you up back again, doesn't it?
Well,
The
even
problem is
Alba's
with
going to give one of them haste, so I don't know.
I think the problem with Glaive as well, though, is like you've got to have a Warrior of Darkness in your break zone.
You paid 9, you probably do.
Yeah.
But I mean,
and it gets back S effect targets from Nact.
I feel the exact same as I did when I first saw Warriors of Darkness come out, and it was just complete indifference to them. I just think they're awful.
I'd be very happy to be wrong. I really will. I hope somebody makes this work and it's really good, but I don't massively see it.
Do you just run the new versions of these? Do you still have to put in some of the old ones?
No, there's probably not. I don't think.
I think the old ones are too dated. I think you definitely have to run the new ones, but the problem is, in the absence of having a good way of guaranteeing seeing Nacht first, I don't think this.
Maybe the old Diana. That's the only one. But yeah, I don't know.
The old Alba was pretty alright, I guess. Dulling all, a lot of your opponent's forwards out the way might be good, but
the new ones do seem a lot better. But I don't know. I hope somebody makes it work and it's really good. Next up is Sandworm, which it's nice to have 5 CP monsters, but this ain't it. Everyone was really excited, especially like Commons format, like fans like our friends at Slice and Dice. But they didn't read the fact that it said when Sandworm is put from the field into the break zone, choose one forward breaker. But that is if your opponent kills Sandworm and they don't have any forwards, it will break one of yours.
I'm guilty of reading that the exact way as well. And we had that discussion, didn't we? And I was just a bit like, oh yeah, sad.
And the thing is, as well, is that this is obviously another with all the monsters this set only a forward during your turn. So it's not even like
can't block.
You can't block, which is what you want it to do. Block the big thing that's going to be coming in, then kill something. But if you attack with it, big 9k, your opponent's just going to take the damage, and his chances are never going to die. It's just going to be a 5 CP deal of damage every turn.
Well, another weakness of it is its damage of 3 effect is not a May either. So effectively, your opponent could 2-for-1 you instead.
Yeah. Not particularly impressed with that, but I really like G Assassin. He's pretty cool.
Is he a gangster?
Not quite. The G stands for Genesis.
I mean, excellent sealed card. This.
Yeah.
Really, really good.
And the fact that he's a standard unit as well, so that means that the next one you play has, just as much chance as this working. Yeah, really cool.
Yeah,
Limited card, love it.
There has to be standard unit backups.
Yes. That's what. But like, if that one worked, the next one will work.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, pretty cool. Probably not in anything else. Z card, which is really, really interesting, but I have no idea. Yeah. Okay. So when Z card enters the field, you may dull 4 active backups you control, and he costs 3 himself, which means that you might have to pay 4 for him or use the 5th backup to do it. But when you do so, you can play 1 forward with cost 6 or less in your break zone.
It's actually crazy when you think about it. You're basically paying 4 CP to pay a 6 or less from your break zone.
Yeah.
But you have to right then and there, and you have to be set up for it.
Yeah, which is very specific. Like, it's really strong effect, and it's quite achievable. But you have to wonder just like how far lost of the game you are, or how much you've already been winning it. I don't know.
So if replays for Shantoto, say no more. I mean,
the issue you got though is, does this replace, like in any sort of Earth deck, does this replace Montleonis? No, because that does the same thing. And like I've discussed this with you as well previously, Paul, whereas like Montleonis has always felt like a win more card. When you're behind, it feels awful. I feel like this would be the exact same thing.
Yeah.
I guess the difference is that this can exist outside of Mono Earth, whereas Montleonis has to be a Mono Earth.
I was about to say that as well, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I do like that it's not limited to the element of card you can play, so you could pick like a Cymru, you could pick, something that might pull you back into the game, but...
And it says 4 active backups as well, not 4 Earth backups, so there's a lot of flexibility with this card. And again, it's any element, it doesn't even say not...
especially if it's Warriors of Light, which means that like Refi is going to put 4 of the backups back up afterwards. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I still don't think it's quite enough for this card, but we'll see. Maybe someone will make this busted, but I don't...
Yeah.
I'm not
it
sure.
Could be interesting.
The AMI happens after you pay as well, so yeah.
Double one.
We have Summoner, which is sort of cool. When Summoner enters the field, you pay 2, and when you do, you choose one summon in your break zone, add it to your hand, and then for 1 tap and discard 1 Earth card, you can put something into the break zone, choose 1 Earth summon in your break zone, and cast it at any time you could normally cast it this turn, and its cost is reduced by 3. So.
Miss Dragon sounds pretty nice.
Miss Dragon for 4 rather than 3, but it's cool.
Yeah, but because it says they don't have to become 0, and I like. I don't think this is busted by any means, but I definitely think this is probably the best of this line of them.
Yeah.
The fact you have the choice to just play it as a flat 2 CP backup turn 1, or play it as a 4 CP and get someone back. The fact you got the option to choose one of the 2 things, I think is nice. And if you're playing a Mono Earth list rather than like an Earth Water that has loads of ways of, or like Earth Light that have loads of ways of getting your summons back from break zone, I think this is actually quite nice if you happen to see a lot of your Miss Dragons early, and you can do it on either player's turn to do that effect, and it can become 0. So I could be convinced it could see some sort of play, but I don't think it's going to be groundbreaking, but equally I don't think it's a terrible card.
I pretty much agree with all of that. You took all the words right out of my mouth there. Yeah, it's cool. I think, especially with the standard unit support in this set, it could definitely see play. But it is only an Earth summon that he can get back, so you are limited by that entirely. But I think the idea as well is that with this is that it's meant to maybe use the carbuncle to protect things. Oh yeah, because there he is.
That's only for the second effect, though, right? The one he gets back is anything.
Yes. Yeah, but it means it's not going to do great for like Chaos Arc based things or anything. So
what is unusual about this is that the card you do play from your break zone doesn't get removed from game like most effects do, which is pretty nice.
Yeah,
because usually when you're casting something from break zones, they get removed. But
yeah, that's true. That's true
in this case.
Next is a card that I want Mr. Fish here to introduce. We have Prish. And I read this and I was like, man, this sucks. I'm not really into this at all. And I'd missed entirely that it is a
monk
that costs
Who's
2.
not monk to be
Yeah.
precise?
So look, I know you guys gave me a hard time when I said about this, but it's really good. Monks rely on a lot of fight effects, and if it's chosen by any summoner ability, it gains 2,000 power, so it's always killing for 7.
Oh, I completely agree. Like as soon as I noticed that it was a 2 CP monk, that like it was exactly what you're after with a name that wasn't massively contested. I was like, nah, you're right.
Yeah.
Is this the return of Carbuncle as well? The 2 CP buff by 2 if it's 9k or less, but return it back to hand.
That would be pretty funny, to be fair. But like, this is likely to do your opponent a damage or make them block. And if it makes them block, great. Okay, then you just sacrifice it and go in with a massive Versala, or because the problem you find with monks these days as well is like Sophie's great. Let's play Sophie with Ursula. Mist Dragon, great. Okay, now I've got nothing but backups to go after, and if your backup line is full, you're kind of shit creek basically.
No,
We have definitely been after a 2-drop monk for a very long time because the only option we've had up to now that's been playable is it was Opus 1 common, the 2 CP 6k no text. Like,
yeah.
Or Sabin, which
yeah, I mean, well, obviously Sophie, but again, one of it's
that's what I mean.
Would
Like
be
now,
ideal every time, but
now you don't have to worry about like when to discard your Sophie. Like you can just be like, if I lose it, I lose it. Fine, I'll carry on and I'll use Prish instead, sort of thing. I do quite like running the multi-element Prish, the Ice Earth one in my monks list, but I think this actually takes its place. So
really excited to see what you come up with this.
To be honest, it's literally replace the 2 Prish, leave the deck as is, and just put 2 of her in instead. I maybe even try and fit 3 in. I'm not sure.
Only a few cards left to go now. We have Balo next, which is he's a big boy.
Absolute unit.
Looks like he's wearing a big suit. Backup 3 CP Knight, and when you enter the field, choose 1 Earth character in your break zone, add it to your hand. And for dull and put him into the break zone, choose 1 forward. It gains 2,000 power at the end of turn. It's a really good card. It's again, you want your Lightning Earth engine. There you go. You get your Duke Goltana to search this.
True.
And then
does Duke Goltana search a knight? Does it?
It just searches a job knight.
Oh, okay. Because I was going to ask, is the knight part actually relevant in Earth? But
all knights are relevant in Earth. So Earth Lightning is a really good place to go for it. And the fact that obviously it costs 3, but you're going to get 1 back, which means it costs 1. It's a pretty solid card. I think there is a depending on how like Earth goes for knights going forward. There's obviously we're not really strapped for backup engines in Earth Lightning at all. But if knights become any better with Earth, then it could definitely see play. So
I think it definitely gives you. I think there's enough nice targets that if you see, because they're all commons and rares as well. If you see a Garland in your sealed format, you've got enough there for it to feel.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. And I think if we ever do expand into, I don't think Earth is the element for knights at the moment, but if we ever do, then maybe this sees some play. So,
this would be the one for it, but so if you control a knight, the Ramsar becomes 2 less, and if you've attacked this turn, you can cast him for 0 in your main phase 2, which isn't particularly great. I like cards that are free. It ain't this one.
yeah, the name clash hurts, I think.
I think you're really going to pay this for 2 rather than anything else, and hopefully you get an extra ping because of playing having Garland on the field, but otherwise probably not on this one.
It's commons are common. I think Knight's got too many premium slots that I don't think it could ever fit this in. As nice as paying 0 to deal 5k is, it's just I don't think it fits.
Next up we have Lich, who is a 4 CP 5k job chaos. For each Earth backup you control against 1,000 power. And when you enter the field, you can get a backup in your break zone back. this is most definitely common Robo-Light Bell.
Mhm.
Mhm.
That's it. It's not great.
You can say much about this card, right? Like, it's so generically Earth. Like, a lot of these cards seem to be.
Yeah.
It's a generic Earth common. That's it, really. I don't think you can really say anything else.
No.
Have to do that at some point. Take the colours off the cards and get people guess which element this is.
Love the idea.
Yeah.
And speaking of generic Earth, we have Lilty. So that's it for Wind and Earth right now. We will all be back very shortly for Lightning and Water. So see you in the next one. Thanks very much.